It's a jam-packed episode, receivers 16 to 30. We're doing it a little bit different. We've got a round-robin system for the last few guys here, but we're giving you your top 30 wide receivers here in part 2 of the rankings. It's the boys back together again. So without any further ado, let's hop into the episode with Landon and Ben.
Welcome back to Scramble Drills Dynasty. I think I got both of them right there before we hit record.
No, here's what happened.
I just see Landon's face.
You did your thing, but normally you're doing it trying to mess one of us up, and it's comment and then 2 seconds of silence pass, and then your voice pipes in from the ether.
No, I timed it up perfectly. Josh, how does it feel to be back on an episode
Oh, man. It's good. I feel like
after your
the prodigal,
leave of absence?
I don't know. It's good to be back.
You ain't prodigal. Yeah, you ain't prodigal.
Oh,
You are.
I had to beg to get my
At
seat
best, I probably can't even finish that sentence. Oh, yeah. It was hands and knees.
We made
Anyway.
it through. We made it through.
Interesting start to the episode so far. This was not planned. What are we talking about today, guys? We're talking about receivers. We're basically just finishing up last week's episode. Same as we did running backs. We did the top 15, and now we're going to do 15 or 16 to 30. So it's a lot of fun. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Wonderful. I'm even better because I just read my second off-season puff piece about Jonnu Smith in the past 3 days. And I'm just juiced on NFL news at the moment.
Oh, it's happening. I saw where Donald Parham for the Steelers has torn his Achilles
Oh.
in training camp. So sucks for Donald Parham. Feel bad for him. But apparently the next tweet I saw was that reignited trade talks from the Steelers for Jonnu.
So whenever you see one of those in April or May or June where it's a player wants a new contract, might get traded. Schefter reports it, but it just feels like smoke. And then, I don't know. When you see the reignited trade talks that maybe Jonnu is not going to be a Dolphin, maybe he's going to be a Steeler, it's interesting. I don't know if y'all have any opinions.
I don't know if it'll happen, but I think there is legit. This is a potential. It could happen. I don't say it will, but
It seems like it.
they're talking for sure.
I don't take these rumors. I don't think they mean much at this time, like you were saying, unless we are talking about Arthur Smith and either Jonnu or Cordero Patterson. Those mean something. When those guys are on the board, you should be paying attention. I don't know if he goes. Either way, I like him. I certainly like him better in Miami, but I think either way, he's going to be a top 8 redraft tight end. Even if he goes to the Steelers, I would say he's probably around there, which that's not saying much. I feel much better about him in Miami, but it doesn't mean a ton for Dynasty.
You know what it really means a lot for? If he does get traded, not that this player was not great before the theoretical trade, but Devon Achane, I feel like, would just be even more to the moon because that's his thing. Short area targets.
Jonnu was basically a dump-off, catch 8 dump-offs a game. So
Yeah, run after the catch. Maybe actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it probably really benefits Tyreek Hill more than anybody else because he, for some reason, I have no idea why, was not being used in the short areas of the field all that much. It was Achane and Jonnu, which is odd, but it seemed to work for him.
Let's see. I did see one other piece of news that this one kind of sucked. It hopefully shouldn't be fantasy relevant, but it is a thing. Frank Ragnow retired, which kind of took me by surprise.
That is fantasy
from
relevant.
the Lions, which is crazy. He was he was a huge part of that offensive line. So just another huge loss for them after losing both coordinators and now Ragnow. That's big.
Yeah, it was Ragnow, and then wasn't there another lineman that retired earlier on in the offseason as well?
I don't know. I don't remember that.
I
think I remember seeing something about that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I just can't
I don't remember
remember
her name.
what the other one. Anyway, I think it was either there were two linemen that retired, or they're just replacing now with Ragnow 2 interior linemen, something like that. Certainly not nothing. That's a big deal for if nothing else, the run game. I mean, they're still going to have a good run game, but if you take the league best offensive line and, drop it down to 8th, 9th, 10th, that I think changes things from in terms of how dominant they're going to be running the ball. And they're still going to be good, but maybe just not as elite as they were last year. And there's no Ben Johnson. There's that part too.
That's a big one.
That's a big one.
They did draft a center in the second round too, so I mean they'll have somebody there, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm
Just
wondering
sucks to
if they didn't know this was coming. This is always a weird time of the year for me to announce retirements. And they took a center in the second round, so maybe they knew something. Like maybe it caught us by surprise. Maybe it didn't catch them by surprise. Maybe they knew he was on the fence, and once OTAs came around, he was just like, nope, not going through all this again.
Yeah.
So,
And I think it was.
Yeah, I mean, I hate it.
It was an injury thing too because he's been banged up a lot in his career. Apparently, last season he played through a torn pec, which is
Oh my goodness,
an insane injury to play through. So it wasn't like he wanted a contract or this, that, or the other. Like he just said his body couldn't take it anymore.
That is rough. Yeah. I'm sure it's in the off season. He's just waiting for his body to bounce back, and it is not bouncing back.
He just couldn't. It's crazy. Shout out to the Listener League. We just wrapped up our first ever rookie draft for that league, which was a lot of fun. I was very busy in that rookie draft.
you were
Good
active.
Lord.
Very
You were
busy in that
active.
rookie draft.
You were Ben. You were borderline doing too much. You were borderline
Too much?
Like by the end, you were texting me so much about trades. I was like, you may need to calm down. I never said that to you, but I was thinking that your first 3 were great, and then it was like,
I'll be honest.
come
I
on.
think did I tell you maybe don't do the Penix trade, and then you did the Penix trade? I can't remember what the final compensation was.
You said you liked that trade.
Okay.
I got the 112 and a 26 first.
Okay,
Yeah.
not bad.
And the
I
112
told him
was
if you can
Colson
get
Loveland.
2 first, I told him if you can get 2 first, you can do it. If you can get Loveland and a first with your QB room, you
Yeah.
can do that. So
I couldn't remember if he got that second first or not, but you were very
I did
active.
because you then proceeded to try to get that first from me.
Yes.
Like the very next pick at the 2-1, you were trying to get that first.
Yes, because I was very close to getting it. And that was the second time in the first round that I had a deal that came in second to the deal that Ben got done. And then I get oh, dude, I'm sorry. I
that
just took
happened
the
to
other
Landon
deal.
once too.
Yeah. Oof. Anyways.
Yeah, let's put it this way. I had a lot.
it was
of
a fun draft.
in the rookie draft.
it was
I
a
had lot
fun
of
draft. It was a fun draft.
All right, let's get to the meat of this episode. We'll probably talk about trades and stuff in later episodes. All right. Starting with number 16 to recap. The top 15. This was Landon and I had. Josh didn't get a say because he didn't show up. Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, 1 and 2. Malik Neighbors, CeeDee Lamb, Amon St. Brown, Puka Nacua at 3, 4, 5, and 6. Next tier, 7, 8, 9 was Brian Thomas Jr., Drake London, Nico Collins. And then Marvin Harrison Jr., Ladd McConkey, A.J. Brown, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Garrett Wilson, and T. Higgins. So starting 16, I think we did this in tiers, I believe.
We did not get the tiers,
The doc
actually.
I'm looking at. We didn't quite put the tiers in, but that's okay. And something else I'll say right before we get into it, 16 through 23, ranking-wise, we were kind of all in lockstep there. 24 to 30 was an absolute nightmare to composite. We had names were all over the place. So we decided to kind of almost like do as a round. We each took 2 spots for 24 to 29. We each got to put 2 players in there that we wanted to talk about and thought should be there. And then 30, we're going to talk about one player that we all kind of collectively think, why does everyone hate him? So that's kind of the setup of this episode. This is definitely not your typical Dynasty channel. Here's your tiers, 16, 17, 18, 19. But we like to be a little unorthodox here.
And we're getting through 23. I mean, typically you do top 24. That's your wide receiver 1s and 2s. So we're basically getting through those and then kind of just making a case for a guy we believe in who's just outside those top 24.
Yeah.
So
I feel like it's an interesting way to do it. I think it'll be fun. But let's hop into it. Definitely the first 23 though, we locked in. We all agree these are the top guys in this tier. So starting out, do we want to go one by one, or do we want to kind of name 3 at a time and go that way?
we can go one by one.
Number 16, Ted McMillan, number 8 overall pick to the Carolina Panthers. I think we were all kind of in unison. Landon, you were the only one who was a little different, but that's just like last episode you had Rashee, or I think you had T at 16 and Rashee Rice there. So they were a little flipped, but we'll talk about Rashee Rice in a little bit. But I think this is, depending on who you talk to, you might could argue this is honestly low for him. He's going to kind of not a bad situation. He was just the 8th overall pick, which is where guys like Drake London, Garrett Wilson went just a few years ago. So, and people kind of soured on him towards the end of rookie season, I guess. You know, where we're evaluating guys in combine and all that kind of stuff. But the Carolina Panthers didn't. They took him at 8. So
That's the case.
I said it in, I think maybe our last rookie episode we did about just rookies. If the draft would have taken place in January and he would have went 8th overall, he would probably be in a lot of people's top 10. And I think he's still in some people's like top 12 to 14. So we're just a touch lower on him. But 8th overall receiver. I mean, that's as good as draft capital as you get. Like, I know Marv went 4. I know Chase went 5. Is that really that different?
No.
it's a top 10 pick.
He's the first full receiver that went. I mean, I know Travis Hunter went at 2. But, like, he's the first full receiver that went to a team who late last year was showing signs of being able to throw the football. We like their coach. We thought he was a quarterback whisperer going in there, and as the season went, Bryce got a lot better. And then they went out with a ton of needs. Every position, really, they had needs. Like literally every position, other than maybe running back. And they went out and said, I don't care about defensive line, linebacker, DBs. We're taking a receiver. We're going to essentially build our passing game around it. And I don't remember. I know some of the prospect drawbacks that people had. It kind of goes away for me when he goes 8th overall.
I am very curious y'all's opinion about him. Like when it came down to brass tacks, I didn't have to make that many decisions about Ted McMillan. Like, you know how sometimes you get into rookie drafts? Ben experienced this with Quinshon Judkins and Travion. You have this idea when you're ranking players, and then when push comes to shove and you have to make a pick, your rankings don't always translate to how you actually feel in real life on the clock. And I'm curious if you had to make any Tet decisions, because I got myself into situations where there could have been a Tet decision, but really I didn't have to make a decision about how I felt about him. So I have kind of absolved myself from the Tet conversation because I don't have strong opinions about him. And for a wide receiver that gets drafted 8th overall, typically you would have strong opinions. And it's very, very weird. He is one of the oddest prospects to come out in recent memory, because if you box score Hunt, he looks great. If you look at draft capital, he looks great. But there is something about his profile that screams I don't know. It's just odd. And so where I have been able to avoid him and pivot to something really good, I have done that. But I'm curious how y'all feel just practically about him.
I actually have so some of the prospect pushback that he got late in the year is film breakdown. People didn't like some of his releases. People didn't think he could get open as much as some other guys who were drafted in this range. Here's the thing. At the end of the day, we all have people we listen to when it comes to film breakdown. Some of those people just don't know what they're talking about. It's completely possible that there's not really any drawbacks in Tet's game. Now, maybe there is. Maybe those YouTube film breakdown guys were right, and there are things to be concerned about, but maybe they're not. And maybe we're pushing this guy down boards and going to regret it come week 8 this year.
I do think one of the guys that had a podcast and talked about him and did not like him was Panthers legend Steve Smith.
Oh,
so,
interesting.
I could be wrong. I will double check
Okay.
while Ben talks here for a second, but I'm pretty sure I saw the video where Steve Smith was like, I am not a Tet guy.
Okay.
I do agree with both. I'm kind of with Josh, and I said this, when we were looking at rookie receivers, and this is why I liked, and this is why I might be completely, I probably am completely wrong. I liked Burden better than Tet, because when I was watching film, obviously I don't know anything. I just think Burden's the better athlete and things like that. But analytically, I'm with Josh, I don't know there isn't a box he doesn't check. He broke out at a young age. He had 1,200 yards as a true sophomore. He just went 8th overall. He didn't regress his junior year like Luther Burden did. So I guess people like to say well, he's got to be Mike Evans and things like that. I'm like, that he doesn't have to be. He's his own player, and I'm not sour on the location at all. I just saw Bryce Young show serious improvement with a 34-year-old Adam Thielen and Xavier Legette, who I'm a Carolina guy, but don't tell me Xavier Legette is a true number one receiver in the NFL. He's just not. This is a situation where Bryce needs help. The Panthers are going out of their way to give Bryce help to make him succeed. So Tet's walking into a situation where he can be a true wide receiver 1.
I found a Steve Smith, Tet McMillan quote. He said, the T-Mac evaluation for me, in my humble opinion, is, he's a number 1 ranked wide receiver, but he's not the number 1 wide receiver. I think he leaves a lot of plays on the field. I don't think he has the ability to dominate like his size is. I think he's a jump ball guy, but I don't see his route tree being very elaborate.
Probably.
So do with that what you will.
Well, that's going to be awkward at Panthers training camp when those guys are cutting up. Okay.
But yeah.
Anyways, we like Tet.
Think
Tet.
what you will. This has got to be.
We don't
you have
love
to rank him here.
Tet. We like Tet. Yeah, we like Tet.
But you have to rank him here.
Yes, you do.
The only thing you can say is
you
you don't like film. There's nothing else that you can say.
Yeah.
All right. This guy is obviously the big controversy. Nobody knows what to do with him. It's Travis Hunter. We've got him at 17. Yeah, I wish he was a full-time receiver because he would be in the top 12, most likely.
Yeah. If he was a full-time receiver, he would definitely be he'd be above T for sure.
Easily.
And then I'd have to think about Igbuka and McConkey and some of the others. Probably ahead of McConkey. I mean, he'd be up there for me, but we love the talent. Do we even need to outline the questions?
No, I mean, everybody
we know
knows.
the questions.
And I think
we don't know
it's
if he's
more
a full-time
reasonable.
receiver.
It's more reasonable to have him here too, because obviously you don't know the full-time receiver, and there is a BTJ there in Jacksonville who is the one, the true one there. So can they both succeed? Absolutely. We've seen it happen over and over with Chris Godwin and T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith over and over. It can happen. I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about the talent. It's only the playing time. I don't know what it looks like yet.
No, that's it. I mean, You watch the film,
Yep.
he looks great. Everything looks great. He's a freak athlete. He's nuts. I have been seeing that Jags people are saying he's going to major in offense, minor in defense. Not a
And
clue what that means.
If that's truly the case, he probably should be higher on this list. He really should.
But I mean, like, you can major in offense and play 65% of the snaps and still be a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He can still be a pain. I like him here. I like him here because, I mean, maybe he jumps Tet if that's the case, but I'm thinking, like, if he plays 65% of the snaps, would I have him above T. Higgins?
Probably not.
Would I have him above Lad McConkey? Like, I think this is a good spot for him. I think it's safe to say we are typically a little more reserved on rookies than consensus, us three in particular, and we still have him this high. And we don't know if he plays receiver. We like him. I like him a lot.
Yeah.
I like him a lot. 17, I think, is fair.
Yeah, I don't know a ton more we can say about Travis Hunter there, so we'll move on.
No.
This one, you were definitely the highest of the three of us. It wasn't by a lot. We all really like this guy. Josh and I were a touch more reserved. So, Landon, we'll let you go first. At 18, we've got Rashee Rice.
Yeah, I had Rashee at 15. I love that playing style. I think his playing style is the type of playing style where even when there's more mouths to feed, I feel okay. The short pass, run after the catch guy, I feel like that's really consistent no matter what the offense looks like, no matter what other mouths there are to feed, because we've seen the last 2 years the Chiefs' offense has not blown everybody away. I mean, they win every single game almost, but the offense is not blowing people away. He was really good down the stretch and in the playoffs as a rookie. And then I know it was 3 games last year, but I was having dangerous Rashee Rice conversations after what I saw the first few games, because he was a guy that his first year, if it was not 10 yards and in, he wasn't in the play. Basically, it was just slant and let's see what he can get. And he was catching long touchdowns last year, like over the top touchdowns last year a couple times, and I was like, man, if he's added that to his game, I love Rashee. I feel really good about him. Even if the Chiefs' offense is still lackluster, I feel good about him, more so than anyone else in that offense.
Yeah, and I told y'all before we hit record, if we were doing this ranking a couple months ago, I probably would have not thought about it all that much and had him right there as well. The more I've thought about it, and take this with a ginormous grain of salt, because sometimes we overthink things, and I might have overthought this one a little bit. But when he was breaking out last year, you got a 3-week sample size. It felt like so much more than that. That was the thing that was wild to me thinking back on it. I was like, he gave you like a solid 6 weeks. And then you go back and look, and it's like, no, that was 3 weeks. So it was not a necessarily predictive sample size for an entire season. Hollywood Brown was not there. The offense was not great, and he was good, but you're adding in Xavier Worthy, who pretty much did the Rashee Rice rookie year. It was a carbon copy. It was not good to start, came on very strong in the playoffs, finished great, had an amazing Super Bowl. You add in Hollywood Brown. I don't know exactly what he is. He might be just sort of a throw-in role player. I don't know. Xavier Worthy, what is he? Travis Kelce, he is old as dirt, but like, what is he? Does he impact Rashee Rice in any way? And then what is the offense? If it's the same offense of the past 2 years where it's not a very good passing offense, I don't know. There are minor concerns, no major concerns. So I did drop him below the rookies and one other guy. But I think that's one of those, when push comes to shove, who am I going to trade him for? And that was a very difficult ranking for me. Probably the most difficult in this whole set was, what do I do with Rashee Rice? Because if I get a 1-for-1 trade with some of these other receivers, who am I trading him for? And that was tough.
Yeah, I'm a little bit split the difference between the two of you. I also had him, I think in my personal rankings, I had him at 18. So really not a big deal. Like, he's right there with those guys. But for similar reasons as Josh, I kind of took a step back, and maybe I did the same thing and overthought it. It was the same for me. The suspension is still looming. I don't know when or if anything's going to happen with that. I really don't know. But that is something just to keep in your mind that it could happen. And I just want to see it. I'm not in the camp of I think the Chiefs offense is going to be bad. I kind of thinking we could be seeing a resurgence from the Chiefs offense. Maybe I'm wrong. But I just want to see exactly what it looks like when Worthy more so than Hollywood Brown. Like, I think he's a nice tertiary piece. But Worthy came on, same thing as Rashee Rice, was really strong at the end of his rookie year. So I want to see both of them there, and I want to see it for more than 3 games.
See, I'm the reason I don't have any reservations is because I think the better Worthy is, the better it is for Rashee. I don't think Worthy being good is bad for Rashee. I think Worthy being good is – now, Kelsey being really good might be bad for Rashee because they do similar things. But if you tell me Worthy's really good, I'm thinking, oh, Rashee's going to be even better. Because that's the type of player. Those guys complement each other so well. I feel really good about that.
Yeah.
Like, as someone who – actually, do I even have Rashee anywhere? I didn't think I do. I have one share of him. I hope Worthy's really good. I've seen Rashee do it. Now, have I seen him do it for 3 years in a row? No. But I feel good. I feel really good about Rashee Rice.
Yeah. And I think we're nitpicking him.
We're absolutely
probably a little – we're nitpicking. We've got him here. You could argue him to be a little bit higher. I personally would still prefer the guys like a T. Higgins or somebody like that. But again, I'm trying to find flaws where there aren't many. Rashee Rice is great. All right, number 19. I think we were pretty consensus. We all had Devonta Smith right here. He's another interesting case. He's a wide receiver too, but I've seen him and A.J. Brown on the field at the same time, and I believe Devonta Smith put up a wide receiver 10 overall finish. So, he's just a beast.
Yeah, do you guys feel like all throughout last year people were really down on Devonta?
Yeah.
I feel like people got like really down on him. And I guess he wasn't blowing anybody's socks off. I mean, he was fine. I guess that's why. But I just feel like people were really down on him last year.
I think it's a Saquon Barkley effect, in my opinion.
Yeah, they just ran over people. You had lower pass volume. And it's a consolidated passing pie, but still, like A.J. Brown was not his best self last year. And I'm pulling up Devonta Smith's game log. He was mostly pretty good, but you also had a couple weeks, like he had 0.8. He had 1 catch for 2 yards against the Giants. He had 2 catches for 3 yards against Dallas, 4 catches for 29, 2 catches for 14, 1 catch for -2, 4 for 37.
Ooh.
But you had 6 for 120. I mean, he was pretty much his usual self. You just had a couple dud weeks that actively hurt you, so he was mostly himself.
I think Landon, you're probably we all had him around the same, but you're definitely the highest of the 3 of us on him.
I had him at where did I have? I had him at 17 or 18. Yeah, I mean, I've seen him do it. I'm always going to be partial to guys who I've seen finish in the top 10. Like, I think these other guys can and will do that. But I've seen him do it, and I know Devonta Smith can do it. And, again, I'm on the record. I think Saquon's going to be really good this year. I don't think he repeats what he did last year. And with that, they probably throw the ball a little more. I mean, can they throw the ball 3 more times a game? Just 3 more passes a game over 17 weeks. I mean, you're talking about 50 more passes. Do 10 of those go to Devonta? All of a sudden, he gets 10 more. I mean, I see it being – I see last year as his worst year in the next 3 years. Just because we know what the talent is. We know what the contract is. We know – I like the situation. Yeah, I feel good about Devonta.
Yeah. That's probably right. That's right about where he should be right now. All right, we'll talk about the next two together because we all three had them consensus. They were 20 and 21 for all three of us. DJ Moore and Rome Odunze, all back to back here. It's just I think it's a bet we know DJ Moore's probably the one, but Rome definitely gives you the longer term upside.
Yeah, I kind of made this out last week, and then I flipped it just because I was like, you know what? I'm the guy who I always go with the guy who I've seen do it, and I've seen DJ Moore do it, so I'm going to stick with him and put him ahead. But we all had him at 20 and 21 because I think the process was those first 19, like we know their role. We know their role. We're still trying to, or we think we know the role with the rookies. We're still trying to figure out, under Ben Johnson, what is his plan in this receiving room? I mean, he just took a guy in the second round who we think's really talented. He had these two guys. He took a tight end. So we know what Rome's prospect profile is. We know what we've seen DJ Moore do, and we know what we think the offense could be. So I think we just kind of all felt like after those first 19, we'll just stick these guys right there because I want pieces of that offense, and I think these are probably the two best pieces to have.
Yeah, I mean, the passing pie looks like right now it's going to be divided up for a lot of different mouths, but DJ Moore or Odunze are going to be the number one option in the offense. I think it's probably Moore, but Odunze was a great prospect. He didn't have the worst rookie year ever, but it wasn't great. Part of that was the offense just wasn't all that good. I don't know. For me, jury's still out on both of these guys, but, you know, like you said, we know DJ Moore's good. We know he can deliver in murky situations for fantasy. Odunze is, you know, who knows. But I think there's reasons to be really optimistic for both of them. Odunze is probably more of a call-your-shot guy than anything else because I think if you're looking at somebody who could really rise up these rankings in 6-7 months, it's probably Odunze.
Yeah, and I think Odunze has a different role than most of the other guys on the team. DJ Moore, he's going to play that role, probably the most fantasy relevant role, and I know Ben Johnson can get very creative with him. The only thing, and this is not I think this will happen, it's just something to note, is I think Luther Burden is a similar type of athlete to DJ Moore and can play a similar type role in the offense. Is he going to take that away from DJ Moore this year? No. But they are similar versus Rome profiles, I guess, more as the outside guy. So I could see Rome solidifying himself in that versus – and Landon, you had mentioned this a few months ago, and I thought it was interesting, is that DJ Moore is not getting paid unbelievable money. And I could see teams potentially trying to move to trade for him. Because I've seen him do it as well. And I've seen him be wide receiver 6 in bad situations. So, let me be clear. I absolutely think he's the best piece to own in that offense. But with all the other pieces, I don't know. I could just see things changing there.
He has a contract that, with the moves the Bears have made, they've got a lot of mouths to feed. And with the way the receiver market has blown up since DJ Moore's deal, he has a contract that teams would be interested in. Like, if he was available, you'd have 15 teams calling the Bears. I don't know if he is available. I'm not saying that.
I don't think he is.
But that is one thing. But, no, I don't think he is. I think they really like him, and they really should. I mean, he's a great player. Yeah, I feel good about both these guys.
I would honestly go as far as to say this is a conservative ranking of these two guys. I really would.
Probably.
Yeah. And we can take this to – this can be insightful, I think, about definitely Tet and possibly even Travis Hunter. Rome last year, around this time, was going somewhere in between 15 and 20 as going into his rookie year. So that's where he was at wide receiver rankings-wise. He did not blow anybody's socks off, right? He was not incredible. He was kind of less than we wanted, but okay. And he held his value because of where he was drafted. Even though they have a receiver who got a contract and they brought in somebody in the second round, when you get drafted that high, you hold your value. even if you don't have a great season, you hold your value. And I think that is something you can think about with Tet. Even if Tet doesn't blow everybody's socks off last year, because of his draft capital, he's going to hold his value. Like, at worst, he'll be wide receiver 23, 24, 25 next year. That is not a type of asset that's going to just fall off a cliff. I mean, outside of like an injury or something. So I think that says a lot good about Tet for this year, just about how his value is going to hold. The way Rome has.
I didn't think about that
this
before we did these rankings, but that is a good point. I mean, we mentioned it last episode with the same thing with Marvin Harrison Jr. Like his and Rome's seasons, genuinely, they went about worst case scenarios you could ask for where they were drafted and the types of players they are. That was worst case scenario, and we're still taking them this high. All right,
Rome may have dropped 3 or 4 spots, something like that.
Yeah.
Even with the season he had. So
Marvin fell the most. He dropped like 6.
Those guys hold their value.
All right, moving on. The last 2 names we've got here, and then we'll get into our kind of round-robin discussion. Number 22, our composite, was Xavier Worthy. We've kind of already talked a little bit about him. Don't need to spend too much time, but I mean, I really like the way he looked at the end of the season. And, you know, this type of player he is, he's never going to be a true top number 1 guy, but he's a really good 2. Great wide receiver 3 if you got him.
Yeah, I mean, he started out the year sort of as a gadgety kind of a player. And then by the end of the season, I mean, he's getting, let's put it this way. Here's his last 3 regular season games. It's 6 for 46, 7 for 65, 8 for 79. And then his last 2 games in the playoffs are 6 for 85 and 8 for 157. So,
and his targets jumped significantly too. He went 11 targets, 9 targets.
Yeah,
then
and
6, 7, 8 in the playoffs.
And from week 11 to week 17, he has not outlandish numbers, but consistently decent numbers. He's got 61 yards, 46, 54, 41, 46, 65, 79. So he's between 41 and 79 yards every single week, which is, for a rookie, that's kind of what you want to see. You just want to see him get integrated into the offense, and that's what happened with Worthy, so there's reasons to be really optimistic.
Yep. And I like seeing, too, Hollywood Brown came back late in the season for the playoff run. Didn't really affect Worthy. He still put up numbers with Hollywood there.
Yeah, we all really like Worthy. Obviously, I talked about how I was higher on Rice. I think Worthy had to step into a role that they had not planned for him because of the Rice injury. And so he took on, down the stretch, he was taking on a little bit more volume, a little less explosive plays. I do think if everyone's healthy, I think they want to get him more explosive plays. I do think that was the design for him when they drafted him. I don't think they drafted him to have 11 targets and, 9 yards A-dot or whatever. I think they want explosive plays with him, which is great for fantasy. I could see him being a guy that leaves you with a few
Jamison Williams kind of a guy.
I mean,
for sure.
Yeah.
But a better version. Yeah, a better version of Jamison Williams. And when I say this, the real ones will remember this guy's 2 or 3 year peak, like a Will Fuller.
2012 Will Fuller. Or
Will
2016, whatever it was.
Will
Fuller
nasty.
Yeah. His prime was so short, and he was never the best receiver, so nobody remembers. He was a dog for a couple years. I could see him being a guy who he finishes at wide receiver 16, and he has 5 top 5 weeks type receiver, like one of those guys. And in deep leagues, you love that. Oh my gosh, you die for that. You die for an Xavier Worthy in a deep league where you start 11. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I will say I agree with you. That's probably what they're trending towards. But it does make me feel good knowing and seeing him handle not Rashee Rice's role, but that, I guess, type of player, and being able to see him handle it and do well in it.
Yeah.
Giving me the idea that he's he's never going to become just truly a gadget guy. Like, he's going to be versatile enough to where they're never just going to phase him out of the offense or only use him in these critical deep shot roles. Like, he's going to – not that he's going to do it every week, but he can.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, I feel really good about Rashee Rice because of Xavier Worthy and the role he plays. That works the other way around too. I think if Rashee Rice is good, it really helps Worthy. I really think there's a reason they traded up to take this guy. The Chiefs, say what you want. I know people don't like them. They're not a dumb organization. They're not just taking random players.
You don't go to
random
3
reasons.
straight Super Bowls by being dumb, okay?
No, you don't. You do it by making draft day trades with the Buffalo Bills. That's
yeah,
how you do
every
it.
time. All right, last guy here, and then we'll get into our round robin. Another guy, people are low on him. Not a lot of people like. He's lost favor in the fantasy eyes, but he just got a huge contract extension. DK Metcalf.
Dear Lord.
This is purely all I can say about this is I have to.
Yes.
You don't have a choice.
Because of the contract, I have to. That's all I have to say.
Have I – what is this? I've said this now twice in May.
It's the same thing. It's a similar argument to Ted. I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice.
Here's the thing. We know he's good. He is in a crowded offense. He has given you 900 yards or better. He's basically Mike Evans 2.0. He's given you 900 yards or better from 2019 to 2024. And he goes to a situation that's not great, but he's the only guy there. And we know he's good. So, I don't know. He's probably going to be somebody who they might throw 5 times all year, but he's going to get 4 of the targets. So, I don't know what that means for fantasy football.
I said this jokingly, like he's going to be the first receiver ever to have like a 45% target share with 90 targets.
Yeah. I don't know how, honestly, I'm not sure that Arthur Smith has any interest in throwing the ball this year. I think they might hand
Arthur's
the ball
already
off
trying to
Caleb.
get Jonnu.
Yes.
He's already trying to get Jonnu, which means he's officially phased DK out of the offense.
All I know is that after the past couple weeks of just sort of stewing on things, Caleb Johnson's probably going to have like 260 carries.
I am fine with that. I have one league with Caleb Johnson.
That's where I've landed. DK Metcalf, I don't know. I've been in on him and been basically burned like 3 years in a row. So I'm trying very much to stay out on him, but I can't because everything in me says, but he's going to be good. And so I guess he's just going to be good.
I will restate my case for having DK ranked this high. I have to.
You're obligated.
I am contractually
That's
obligated
all I
to
have
put
to
him
say.
here.
Because of his contract,
Yeah.
I have to.
They paid him so much money.
That's all I got. So much money. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, let's have at least a little bit of good to say about DK. Like, he is great. He's a super
No, he's very
athlete.
good.
And like, truthfully, I know Arthur Smith is a problem, but like in that offense with the other weapons, he should get 10 targets a game minimum. He really should.
He should. He's going to give you 7.5, but he should get 10.
And they're paying him for 10 to 12 targets a game money-wise. Will it happen? I don't know. But the money tells me what the offense should look like.
Yeah.
Landon, I see Landon rolling his eyes over there, but it's fine.
I
All
have
right.
to.
We won't spend too much time talking about DK before Landon just leaves the episode. All right. We'll go into our round robin. We each got 2 guys here, and then we'll talk about one receiver at the end. Landon, you go first with our quote-unquote 24. This will basically just be a package of 24 through 29 is these next 6 guys.
Ben, they said I was crazy. And by they, I mean you two.
Listen, my rankings indicate
I
it,
had
but
this guy-
I don't hate it. I do not necessarily disagree with this.
So once you get past the top 23, for me, all these guys have pretty significant questions. Like, I want them all on my team. I want all top 30 receivers on my team, right? But they have serious questions that are very fair and very reasonable. I put Chris Godwin at 24, just because of all the questions that come about with all these guys we're going to talk about. I've got enough answers from him. I've seen him as recently as 2024, so not crazy long ago. As recently as they have played football, be the wide receiver 2 through, what was it, 6 weeks?
Yeah.
Something like that? 7 weeks?
I think it was 6
There was
weeks.
a lot of talk in the offseason. He had a little bit of a down year. He was coming off an injury the year before. He had a down year. And then we got some, I thought it was camp speak at the time, turned out not to be, of we're going to play Chris Godwin in the slot again, which I don't know why they stopped doing that, because he was a monster in the slot. That's what he did, and he dominated. And lo and behold, they actually did it. They actually played him in the slot, and he was the wide receiver 2 until he got hurt. The wide receiver 2, I mean, he and Baker had a fantastic connection. It's one of those deals where, and now there's another wrench in this mix, but it's one of those deals where Evans and Godwin completely, like, they worked so well together when he was in the slot. I feel good about him. Do I think he's going to be the wide receiver 2 this year? No. But I've seen enough from him. I've seen enough from Baker. I've seen enough from that offense to think that I don't see any weeks I'm not starting Chris Godwin if he's on my roster. Where I could see there's weeks you don't start some of these other guys we're going to talk about. If he's healthy, you play him, and you feel fantastic about it in almost any format.
Yeah, I mean, it's another one of those arguments. Do you want points in your lineup? Does that not count for anything these days? Points in your lineup?
Counts for something.
Yeah, I love Chris Godwin. Love Chris Godwin. We won't say too many negatives. This will kind of be each of us with our guy, kind of making an argument for him. So, Josh, I'll let you go next with your guy.
Hoo-wee. Okay. My guy.
This one's going to be tough, guys. This one's going to be tough.
Say it with your chest, Josh.
Well, we're at wide receiver 25, so we kind of all know what we're doing here.
Tough.
This is a little tough, but he does need to be here because we know he's good. And Landon Davis has a golden rule about fantasy football. Acquire players that you know are good. And I know Chris Olave is good. Now, the questions about him are of the hospital variety and the Derek Carr variety, which is really not where you want to be at this point in his career. But the thing with Olave, I have gone back in and just looked at what was life like with Chris Olave last year. It was real bad when Derek Carr decided he wanted to kill him. All other times it was pretty good. He had 81 yards in week 2 against Dallas, 86 yards in week 3 against Philly, 87 yards in week 4 against Atlanta. Week 5 was a down week. Week 6 was a hospital ball. He missed a week. He comes back. There's no Derek Carr. He's catching passes from Spencer Rattler, who, last time I checked, has a pretty good chance to be the starting quarterback for the Saints this year. He gives 14 targets, 8 for 107. Pretty good. Derek Carr comes back. Hospital ball. So it is pretty good. Like, if you do that over a 16-game pace and you just assume he's not going to get any more concussions, that's very good. So the questions about Olave are, is he going to get concussed again? Because that'd be very bad. I don't know. We tend not to project injury here, but you got to factor that in. And it's the Derek Carr question. And
he's like Tua at receiver.
Pretty much. He is literally the Tua of fantasy football wide receivers. We know he's good. He is the unquestioned one in his offense. It might be a pretty bad offense, but it's sort of like...
I couldn't tell you who the wide receiver 2 in New Orleans is.
I
don't know.
It will be a pretty
it will
bad
be.
offense.
But it's also the DK Metcalf kind of a thing where if he's not hurt, he's on a bad team. DK Metcalf, not nice for fantasy football everywhere else except him. But he's the unquestioned alpha. He might not have a good quarterback, but you know that if they're not morons, he's going to be averaging 10 targets a game. And he's young, and we know he's good.
No. No, he is really good. I feel like that has gone to the wayside
We forget.
the last 12 months. The dude can really play. I mean, he is outstanding. I mean, go back every 4 weeks, he makes a catch on. It's always on a 1 o'clock Sunday game, so no one sees it. But he'll make a catch, and you're like, I think maybe 3 guys in the world make that play. Like, he is super good. He is super good. The injury questions are crazy. I mean, he is. Another concussion would be really devastating for his career. I mean, he would have to be making some decisions at that point. So obviously, we hope that doesn't happen. But he's one of those guys, and we're going to talk about probably a couple more. Under no circumstances can you trade them right now.
I've tried.
One reason is because no one wants them. But what you have to trade them for, you just can't do it. Like, I just can't bring myself to trade Chris Olave for a late second or whatever he's
move
going
Chris
for
Olave
right now.
for Cortland Sutton or Jerry Jeudy, and that's where you are.
No. I've got to hold him. I would rather hold him, have him get injured, and set that asset on fire than trade him right now and have the possibility of him being the wide receiver 14 this year, which is definitely a possibility.
Yeah. No, I'm 100% with you there.
That's going to be a theme.
Not a whole lot I can add to that, but
that is a theme. We can,
that will be a theme of these guys.
Yeah, it's the umbrella for all these dudes we're mentioning. We sort of just forget that they're really good.
Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah. All right, mine was kind of a layup.
Also, hey, just one more thing, 2 more things. Kellen Moore came in. We kind of like that.
Very true.
And they didn't bring in any other receivers. So,
no, like I said, I don't know who the 2 is. I don't.
It's Rashid Shaheed.
It's Rashid
Shaheed.
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever. All right, mine was a little bit of a layup. He's the next rookie. He's definitely below he's lower than the other guys. Emeka Egbuka. I understand why he's this low because Chris Godwin and Mike Evans are there, but he's another one. I know the receiver I saw at Ohio State, that's a good receiver. That's a really good receiver, and everyone ahead of him is really old. Mike Evans, I think you said they've got an out after this year. Would not be shocked if he's gone. I know they just paid Chris Godwin, so that will be a thing, but again, I've seen Tampa operate with 2 great receivers. He and Chris Godwin do play a little bit of a similar role, so that's something to pay attention to. But again, the guy is really good. If he went to a different situation, he legitimately would be much higher on this list. He would be up there with Tet and Travis Hunter.
Yeah, and they took him in the first round.
First round receiver.
If you were to look at the Buccaneers and say, what do they not need? You would probably start with quarterback, and your second position would be probably receiver. They don't really need a receiver. And they took him in the first round because they really like him. I'm of the mindset I think the future of the Buccaneers is Chris Godwin and Emeka Egbuka. They love Mike Evans. Look, he might be the greatest Buccaneer ever. That really might be the case for his whole career with them. Like, he's had a fantastic career, probably going to go to the Hall of Fame. But I do feel like the future of this team is not Evans and Egbuka. I feel like it's Godwin and Egbuka. And I know Baker can support 2 really good receivers.
Yeah, I mean,
that doesn't scare me at all.
Ben, you stole him because after Olave, this was the guy I wanted to talk about. But, I mean, he is...
You can still talk about him.
He's probably a little bit undervalued because he does not go into a situation where he's projected to be good year 1. It's a bit of the Rome Odunze, JSN. Like, if you just see... Now, there's a benchmark. You have to see something in year 1 to where you go, okay, yeah, he's actually a good NFL player. But of the receivers coming out in this year's draft, I don't know about how y'all felt, but Egbuka was the one guy that I was like, yeah, he's not going to bust. He's the one guy I knew for certain. He's probably going to be a pretty good NFL receiver. I didn't have that same confidence in McMillan, Hunter, Golden, any of them. But Egbuka, I was like, he might not ever be a really good fantasy asset, but I know for certain he's going to be a good NFL receiver. Like Robert Woods might be the median outcome for Egbuka.
Yeah, I was really high on him coming into this. I mean, I remember saying this, in our pre-draft stuff. People were lower on Igbokwe, and I don't think it's Igbuka's fault at all. Like, he was genuinely playing every week with generational talents. He had Garrett Wilson out there. He had Chris Olave out there with him. He had Marvin Harrison Jr. and now Jeremiah Smith. Like, almost no NFL receivers can compete with those guys, at least not when they were in college. So, like, this is not Igbokwe is bad. He was playing with truly outlier products. So I think he's a great addition here. All right, Landon, your next receiver.
All right. So this is a guy I feel like you guys are pretty down on. I was definitely the highest on him.
I was surprised.
I'm going to talk about Matthew Golden. So here's my defense of him is going to be pretty short. Like I said, a lot of these guys, 24 through wherever you want to go, they have question marks. There are question marks that I can bring up about every one of these guys. I'm just going to take the guy who an offensive coach who's shown that their offense, he likes to throw the ball, took in the first round. And I know Green Bay, they'll throw it 35 times and 7 people get 5 targets. And you're like, this is ridiculous. And it drives you crazy. And I get that. I do feel like they saw the flaw in that last year. I feel like they saw, like, man, giving everybody the same amount of targets, giving everybody the same amount of touches, no other team is doing that like we did. And they feel like they underachieved. I mean, I know they lost to the eventual Super Bowl champs, but I guarantee you they went 1-5 in their division. They got bounced their first playoff game. I guarantee you they feel like they underachieved last year, and I feel like part of them thinks, man, we need to change something about the offense, and taking a guy in the first round says, like, in my mind, it signals to me a shift in philosophy of, like, we just need somebody who can go win. We just need somebody who can go win, and they took him in the first round. And so I'm going to put him above a lot of guys that I have questions about, even though I have questions about him just because of the draft capital and just because of the landing spot.
You brought up something
it's the first time the organization – I was just going to say it's the first time in like 20 years the organization took a receiver in the first round.
That is something.
Yeah.
You brought up a point, though, that is really interesting, and I have been stewing on Matthew Golden for a couple weeks because I came in hot in the prospecting where I was like, this guy looks incredible. He was the guy that I was going to have him as my guy in rookie drafts. And then he gets good draft capital, but he goes to maybe the worst possible situation for a guy like him. Because with him, I think you've got to go to a situation where the opportunity is pretty clear-cut for him, because I don't have a whole lot of an analytical argument to make for Matthew Golden. I have an eye test argument to make. And I'm not as confident in my own eye test as some other people are. I want to leave room for error. And so with Matthew Golden, when he goes to a situation where I genuinely don't know who the number one in that offense is, they might have 4 different ones, and they might just give everybody a bunch of targets. They might have, he might be the one. Jaden Reed might be the one. I don't know. I don't really want to bet a ton on a guy that I'm not 100% convinced is actually a good receiver based on, I like him on film, but the stats are not great. Like, how are you not going to have 1,000 yards at Texas if you're that guy? How are you not going to have 1,000 yards anywhere if you're that guy? But at the same time, he looks very, very good on tape. He has draft capital. He does go to a good offense with a good quarterback. But, like, unless they change things, there's still questions about, is he actually going to be impactful? And I'm not 100% sure. So I've kind of just been like, I'm willing to miss right now on Matthew Golden. He's a guy that I'm willing to pass on in favor of some other stuff because I'm just not super convinced with all the context.
I'm upset you said that, Josh, because I was going to say willing to miss. That was going to be my my thing for him, just because he. And let me be clear, like I'm kind of with Landon. I'm a little bit hopeful that this does signal a change for them, because people tried to trade me Jaden Reed and stuff like this offseason. Like I don't want
Jaden
these
Reed.
Packers receivers.
Don't hear
From
what I'm
I
not saying.
saw
I do
last
not
year
want Jaden Reed.
Was an absolute. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like I didn't want to touch him, and then they go and do this, which to me, kind of the same way, signals a change in direction. I just don't think Matthew Golden profiles as a true number one to where, they're going to give this guy 150 targets. Is he the one right out of the gate? I think so. I think he is the one on the Packers offense. I'm scared a little bit of the situation, and I want to see it before I'm willing to commit to it fully, and it's got to be a position where I kind of am willing to miss there if I'm wrong.
Here's going to be the tell for me. How many snaps does he play in his first 3 weeks? What percentage of snaps is he playing? Is he a 45% snap guy? Is he a 60%, or is he like 85? I think that will tell me a lot.
Yeah, Josh, you said you were talking about just how things shake out, and you said you're not 100% sure. I do not have Matthew Golden ranked highly because I'm 100% sure. Okay, I want to be clear on that. I have him ranked that highly because all these guys in my head have questions. The answer I like the best is Matt LaFleur took him in the first round. I like that answer to a lot of questions. If I'm comparing him to Jordan Addison and Zay Flowers and some of these other guys in this range, I'll just take that shot, hoping that their mindset in picking him wasn't, now we have 8 guys to give 4 targets each to. Hopefully their mindset is, okay, we can lessen Romeo Doubs and lessen some of these guys' targets and have a guy who can win in the red zone and down the field, and that's what I'm hopeful for. So I do like Golden. I think he's in rookie drafts this year. I haven't got him yet, but I thought he was a very good early second round pick in rookie drafts.
Yeah.
All of that
I guess
to say,
we've gone into
all that to say, we're going to be really, really pissed off when Bo Melton goes 6 for 85 and a touchdown in week 6.
That's going to be a bad week. And you got the 3 targets, 2 catches, and 2 touchdowns from Tucker Kraft.
Oh, death.
Oh, those are tough. All right, Josh, you're next guy.
Jaden Reed opens the game with a 60-yard touchdown and doesn't get another target the rest of the game.
Oh, it's miserable. It's miserable.
It's an awful existence.
It's miserable.
All right, Josh, speaking of a miserable existence, not the person themselves, but the fantasy experience, hit us with your next guy.
Yeah, this is just another one of those. I know he's good.
Josh, stop right there. You hate both your guys.
I am not the biggest
Both
advocate.
guys you talked about, you hate them both.
I am not a massive Chris Olave, Jalen Waddle advocate these days. But I know they're really good. And it does get to a certain point when it's like, guys, we got to chill out. We do know these players are good. Jalen Waddle, I know, is good. Now, last year was an awful year for Tyreek Hill, and it was an abysmal year for Jalen Waddle. My explanation is it's a Jonnu Smith and Devon Achane explanation, which is very, very odd because I love Devon Achane probably more than the next guy, and it's still a bit confusing that instead of...
Is Arthur Smith secretly in Miami?
Here's my theory. I have a halfway developed theory about why this is. It is a pivot because Tua Tagovailoa is so concussion prone that they said we are not going to let you stand in the pocket for more than 2.3 seconds. And so we're going to no longer throw the ball down the field. We're going to throw short and intermediate routes. And instead of giving those short and intermediate routes to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, they gave them to Devon Achane and Jonnu Smith, which is a...
Yeah, because they're no good.
I don't know. It's a choice, and it worked out for those players, but it did not work out at all for Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. And he's 26. He's not old. He's not busted. He's got a
Got a
contract. Like, we know what he is. We know he's a good player. I think with him, because we have a history of 1,000 yards, 1,300 yards, 1,000 yards, and then last year, I think I'm willing to say, yeah, last year's probably not like the others. I think things are going to change a little bit in how that offense is constructed. I'm also willing to say the same thing with Tyreek Hill. I don't want to say that with my chest, but when you have a history of players being really, really good, and in Waddle's case, not being old and having a contract, I'm willing to feel just fine with him for another couple of years because I know he's good. And I think at the end of the day, when you're making some of these decisions, are they good? See, this is where it's a rub. Like Matthew Golden, Jalen Waddle, I know I said I'm not 100% on Golden. I'm like 61% sure he's a good player. I'm about 95% sure Jalen Waddle's a good player. It's just opportunity questions for him.
I'm getting these percentages from Josh.
Well, last year there was a lot of games where
He
went to
did.
the medical tent, and it drove you crazy as a Waddle
Yeah.
owner. It was a joke. It was a running joke that he went to the medical tent. Now, he always came back in the game, but
Yeah.
he would miss a quarter. You're like, yeah, I could have used that quarter. I could have used those 3 targets you were going to get in that quarter. So maybe maybe that was fluky. Maybe that's who he is. Hopefully that was fluky, and this year he stays a little bit more ahead of the injury bug, and we see another good Jalen Waddle season. But he's just one of those guys that they have shown at times they give him a lot of targets, which is what you love in fantasy. But he's also a guy that only needs one play. So,
And he only had 2 touchdowns last year. Like, last year was awful in so many respects.
Oh,
it was as bad as it gets. He had 2 touchdowns, and he also had a stretch from week 3 to week 11 where his best yardage output was 57 yards. I'm looking on Sleeper. They color code things. There's a lot of yellow and red on that game log. It's disgusting. But I think he's going to bounce back.
yeah, he's another guy you can't trade right now.
Yeah.
You just can't. Like, I'd rather hold him, and he's last year was the best season he ever has. The rest of his career, I'd rather do that and have the ability for him to shoot back up rankings than to trade him now for whatever you're getting him for.
All right. We got 2 more guys to talk about, and then we'll close this out. My last one, I have a rocky relationship with this guy because I do like him as a player. I think he was awesome last year until he absolutely boned me in week 17 of the playoffs with a 1-point performance. I have not forgiven him in the slightest, but I'm still going to put him here, Terry McLaurin. It's going to sound like I'm angry because I am, but there is a good argument to be made for Terry on this list because they brought in the shell of Deebo Samuel at receiver. That's the only help they added there, the only real help. And their defense is still bad. So Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin are going to have to put up 30 points a game to keep up. And I don't know if you watched the Bengals last year, but that's what they had to do. And Jamar Chase and T. Higgins were awesome. So Terry is once again going to be the number 1 receiver for a hopefully improved Jaden Daniels, which an improved Jaden Daniels would be terrifying for the league, by the way. And I think they're going to give him a contract extension too. So I think this is where he should be.
Yeah, Terry, well, he's already got 1 extension, and so he's got maybe 2 more years left on his contract or something. But you're exactly right. They're going to have to score. Like, they're going to have to score big time because they really they drafted a corner in the 2nd round. They brought in a defensive tackle. They returned some guys, but they did not do a lot on defense. And their defense was like ranked 18th last year. So you're not going to get an argument from me.
Yeah, we know he's good.
Yeah, Terry's another one. I know he's good.
We love Terry.
No, I don't. I don't love Terry. I hate Terry McLaurin. But only because
No, you hate him?
he cost me a championship. He cost me a championship.
Yeah.
All right. The last guy, I feel like this was a collective. We put him at 30 because there needs to be a conversation had. This is almost spearheaded by me because I have quite a few shares of this player. I don't dislike this player, but every league I have him, he is a quote-unquote disposable asset that I would like to use to address different areas on my team. The problem is he is absolutely useless in the eyes of the fantasy community. It is Brandon Ayuk. Absolutely useless. No one will pay anything to get this guy on your roster.
Oh, my gosh. What were you saying before we hit record? There's an individual.
Brandon Ayuk's mom is not trading for him in Dynasty.
Oh, no. There's an individual that does not believe he's the best receiver on his team. Not pass catcher, but receiver.
He said he's not the wide receiver one.
Oh, my gosh.
He said that Juwan Jennings is the wide receiver one on the Ravens or the 49ers. If you want to make an argument to me that he's not the top pass catcher on the team, I will cede that. George Kittle is a beast. He is 100%, without a doubt, when healthy, the wide receiver one on the 49ers. It's not even a question.
I guess.
And I have tried to sell him. I've tried to sell him at value losses in league. Like, I am willing to take a loss to improve a different part of my team. I cannot get a single individual to even come close to accepting a trade involving Brandon Ayuk.
What's so funny, Ben, is you're in the part of the trading process where you're sending out offers that are fair and maybe even slight losses, but the other person is getting that offer and they're like, I just don't even want this player on my team. I'm just going to say no. And you're like, I don't understand what I can do. And they're like, you can't do anything. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
No.
In my opinion, Brandon Ayuk is the biggest buy in Dynasty, period. Because you can get him for nothing.
Yeah. He's another guy you can't trade right now. Like, I'm not saying you can't get a trade done with him. I'm saying you shouldn't trade right now.
No.
You just shouldn't trade him. Just hold him. Guys, in your spare time, just go look up the contract he signed last year. This dude got a mega deal. A mega deal. People, like, it's kind of weird because he held out and then he came back slow and then he got hurt. And people were like, did he really get extended? No, he got a huge extension. They locked him up.
I don't understand.
He's their guy.
People have completely forgotten about that contract. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, they have. They've completely forgotten. Brandon Ayuk is a guy, like, he's definitely a guy that if you're sitting there and somebody falls in your rookie draft and you're at like the 207 and somebody fell to the 207 that somebody else wanted, dude, somebody will flip you Brandon Ayuk for that pick. I guarantee you. Ben, you may have tried to get that deal done. I'm not sure. But
no, at 207, I was
Brandon
like, I'm not trading Brandon Ayuk for that.
He's a guy that...
No.
Yeah. He's a guy that I understand. It's one of those things where I understand why we faded him in rankings. I can't understand why we faded him this far. He's a wide receiver one on a good offense, on a Kyle Shanahan offense.
And he's a wide receiver one.
What are we doing?
We saw him be outstanding with Deebo Samuel on the team. Guess what? They got rid of Deebo and didn't bring in a replacement for him. They didn't. So the only argument in my head you can make is like, well, he's coming off the ACL. Yeah, I'll give you that. He's probably not going to play till week 6. But when he comes back, like he's got locked, guaranteed contract deal. We've seen him do it for like 2 years in a row. Last year obviously was the exception because he got hurt. But like we have, and I used to be out on Brandon Ayuk, and the reason I was out is because after those 2 years, he had moved up so far in Dynasty. Like he was up there at wide receiver 10 in Dynasty, and I couldn't get there, which is why I was like, I had faded Brandon Ayuk because I'm like, I'm not paying that price. We've gone way too far in the other direction. Way too far.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. He's another one of those guys. We know he's good. Apparently, people have just forgotten that he is good at all. And he's got the contract. And his quarterback also got a contract. And he's got one of the 5 best play callers in football. he might not be the number one option. Like overall, George Kittle might be the number one option when it's all said and done.
And I'll give you that. That's fine.
And that's fine. Right. You can be – I just can't get to Ricky Pearsall and Juwan Jennings are consistently making life difficult. I can't do the mental gymnastics that requires you to do. Pearsall has to be a much better
delusion.
player.
It's called I picked up Juwan Jennings off waivers, and I desperately want him to be good. That's what that's called.
It's
called I watched the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and Juwan Jennings was the greatest
It's called
player of
I
all
was in a
time.
best ball league when he had
That's what that's
44
called.
points. The one time.
That was somebody who watched Gabe Davis score 4 points,
Yes.
four touchdowns in a playoff game, and like still insists he's that guy.
He's not that guy. He's not. He's a good tertiary receiver, but he's not that guy.
All right. Anything else we want to add here? Brandon Ayuk rant done. I was really happy to do that because I have been building in frustration about this in multiple leagues. This is multiple leagues. I can't do anything. So it's not just one anymore. This is a trend. So I really wanted to get that off my chest.
Yeah. And that wasn't necessarily our top 30. We all had different top 30s. There
Very
were guys
different.
we didn't talk about, right? Your Jordan Addisons. I mentioned your Zay Flowers. Yeah, I mentioned your Zay Flowers. There were other guys that were in this that we didn't talk about today. We just thought those guys were the ones who needed some run, and we wanted to talk a little bit more deeply about. So
Yeah, there's a lot of guys I think that warrant conversation. Like you've got your older guys like Tyreek Hill probably deserves a mention here. Like you've got, like you said, Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers. None of us wanted to talk about him, but like he at least deserves a mention when we're talking about guys in this range. So yeah, there's I feel like after 23, there's probably a really big tier of players, really big.
And then some of the other second-round receivers this year.
Yeah.
Jaden Higgins, right?
Yeah, those are
We
guys
didn't
that are
have
probably
Luther
going
Burden
to
quite this high, but Trey Harris.
they're probably going to rise up in rankings. Like they're going to be names to watch.
Yep.
All right, I think that is all we've got. A little bit of a longer episode, but I think it's worth it. I think we had good conversation today. If you disagree with any of our rankings, let us know, and we can tell you where you're wrong. Leave a comment, a review, and I think we'll see you guys in the next episode where we talk about probably the most fun position in fantasy, tight ends.
Can't wait.
Everyone's favorite.
Everyone loves it. We'll see you guys then.